I didn't apply for this job. They found me. A plain envelope arrived at my apartment door one evening. No return address, no postage, just my name written in thin, neat handwriting. Inside was a folded letter on heavy government stationery. You've been selected for temporary archival supervision. Level 6 clearance. Payment upon completion. Arrival required by 11:30 p.m. sharp. The records must never be left unattended. There was an address at the bottom, no building name, just coordinates. When I arrived, it wasn't a building at all. Just a security gate at the edge of the forest and a concrete ramp descending underground. A lone guard in a black uniform scanned my ID, though I'd never given one. He didn't speak, only pointed toward an elevator with steel doors marked Sub-Level 6, Archive Access. The air grew colder as I descended. When the doors opened, I was standing in a cavernous hall filled with endless shelves of identical boxes, each stamped with an official seal and a 7-digit code. The only light came from fluorescent tubes humming overhead, casting everything in a pale greenish hue. On the central desk lay a metal clipboard, my name engraved at the top. Beneath it, the first rule was already printed. Rule 1. The lights never go out by accident. If they flicker 3 times, something is moving between the aisles. Stay still until they stop. As if to test me, the lights flickered once, twice, 3 times. The hum of electricity paused. For a moment, the silence was so deep it felt alive. I froze, breath shallow. Something soft scraped along the concrete. Slow, deliberate footsteps. When the light steadied, the aisle behind me was empty, but the shadow of a handprint remained, slowly dissolving on the concrete shelf dust. At 12:15 a.m., I began my first inspection. Each box had a label: Subject 04-113, Case 09-228, Incident 17-002. The shelves stretched farther than my flashlight could reach. The deeper I went, the colder it became. A faint tapping echoed from one of the side aisles, like fingernails on cardboard. The clipboard buzzed hot against my hand. Rule 2. If a record box knocks from inside, do not approach it. Move to another section immediately. It remembers who listens. I hurried past, the tapping following me for several aisles before fading. By 12:45, I reached the security office, a glass cube overlooking the vault. Monitors showed every aisle, every camera feed. On one screen, I saw a person standing still halfway down aisle 9, but I hadn't passed anyone. When I turned to look out the window, the same figure stood there in real time, motionless, facing away from the camera, wearing my exact uniform. The clipboard hissed. Rule 3. If you see yourself on the security feed, do not look directly at it. Leave the control room immediately. I bolted, refusing to glance back. By 1:30 a.m., the air had grown so cold that frost laced the corners of my clipboard. I followed the inspection route deeper into the vault until I reached a sealed containment door labeled Restricted, Do Not Unseal. Something behind it was breathing, slow, heavy, like lungs too large for the space. The metal clip on the board bent, letters etching themselves across the page. Rule 4. If you hear breathing beyond a sealed door, do not acknowledge it. It will mistake silence for obedience. I turned and walked away as quietly as I could. Halfway back up the corridor, the breathing stopped. Then closer now, a deep exhale against the back of my neck. I didn't look. I didn't breathe. I kept walking. At 2 a.m., I noticed something else. A few boxes had been moved. They formed a small stack near the aisle's end, arranged like steps leading up toward the ceiling vents. On top of the stack lay a single open folder, its pages fluttering though there was no draft. The clipboard grew unbearably hot. Rule 5. Do not read any unfiled folders. They show you what hasn't happened yet. I turned the corner, trying to shake the chill in my chest, but the whisper of papers turning followed me like a heartbeat. By 2:30 a.m., I reached a corridor lined with heavy vault doors, each marked with decommissioned files. The smell of ozone and decay filled the air. Through a small glass window in one of the doors, faint red light pulsed from inside, syncing perfectly with the beat of my heart. Rule 6. If a red light blinks behind any vault door, cover the window. It sees through reflection. I tore a blank page from the clipboard and taped it over the glass. The moment I did, the light died. At 3 a.m., the silence broke again. A loud, metallic thud echoed from somewhere below, followed by a low, whirring sound. The containment elevator was moving, even though no one else was scheduled on this shift. The clipboard shuddered violently. Rule 7. No one is cleared for sub-level 7. If the lower elevator activates, do not investigate. Do not answer the intercom, no matter who calls your name. A voice crackled through the speaker above the loading dock. It was my own. "Hey, you forgot to sign out. Come back down here," I ran. By 3:20, I reached the central archive junction, a circular chamber where all the aisles converged. Every shelf around me began to tremble, boxes sliding out, spilling documents across the floor. In the chaos, something crawled out from between two collapsed shelves. Its shape was human, but its skin looked like stretched parchment, and its hands were entirely coated in dripping, corrosive black ink that pooled slightly on the floor. The clipboard pulsed violently. Rule 8. The archivist keeps order in the vault. If it appears, lower your eyes and recite, "All records are sealed." I forced the words through chattering teeth. "All records are sealed." The thing stopped moving. The ink dripping from its fingers froze mid-air. It tilted its head as if satisfied, then retreated into the shadows between shelves. At 3:45, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the clipboard. Only one inspection left, the exit chamber. But when I got there, the steel doors were already open, and standing in front of them was the same uniformed guard who'd waved me in hours ago. His badge read my name. He smiled faintly. "Shift's over," he said. "Sign your log." The clipboard burned in my palm as the last rule seared itself onto the page. Rule 9. If someone relieves you of your post before 4 a.m., they are not real. Do not respond. I turned and ran toward the emergency stairwell. The alarms began to blare, red lights strobing across the vault. The boxes were all shaking now, lids snapping open like mouths gasping for air. As I climbed the last flight, the stairwell went pitch black. A voice echoed from below, my own again, but closer. "Come back." "You haven't finished cataloging." I didn't slow down, scrambling up the final steps until I burst through the exit hatch. Cold air hit me like a wave. The forest was quiet, the horizon just beginning to pale with dawn. I turned back once. The hatch was gone. Just soil, no entrance, no sign the facility had ever been there. The clipboard in my hand was blank, except for one final rule etched in faint new handwriting. Rule 10. Once you've seen the vault, you belong to it. The records must be kept. Return before the next shift begins. I threw the clipboard and ran until the trees gave way to highway. I never found the road I drove in on, but sometimes when the power goes out in my apartment, I hear it, the flicker of fluorescent lights. and the quiet sound of boxes shifting in the dark.